Good afternoon to Bernard Mostert, Tekkie Town, former Tekkie Town, I suppose, Bernard, you could say, because at the moment it's no longer your business. It's the business that you and Braam van Huyssteen and your colleagues sold to Steinhoff just before Steinhoff went bust. You've been working through the courts to try and win it back. And there was a big decision today from the Judge Haley Slingers. Just talk us through it, those of us who are not as legally minded and have been following the court case quite as closely as those of you who have been involved in it.
Thanks, Alec. Yeah, I think for the time being, not in our possession, but definitely still a business that we claim ownership of. So, because we were defrauded of it. So today in the Western Cape High Court, Judge Slingers ruled that she will extend leave to appeal to Steinhoff and a group of alleged financial creditors, as she referred to them, to appeal to the SCA, her ruling that a South African court does have the jurisdiction to wind up an external company, a company that is operating in South Africa but registered abroad. So we are heading to Bloemfontein.
You say the SCA, Supreme Court of Appeal?
That's correct.
And the judgment that she gave was very much in favor of effecting the liquidation order that you're looking for.
No, not yet. So that process we haven't even got to the merits as to whether Steinhoff is solvent or insolvent. You know, it has been a almost 4 or 5 month long skirmish over this jurisdictional issue, and Steinhoff and others have attempted on many times, to a point where it was called an abusive process in the courts, to convince her that her original ruling was not correct. I think it sets a large number of legal precedents, which is interesting, and I think will benefit South African society going forward. So it is, for us, it's part of the process, and we always knew that our case in its entirety will visit South Africa's highest courts. So this is another step in that journey.
So you've been preparing for it, in other words?
Yeah, we accepted that, if we were successful ultimately with our liquidation effort, that it would be appealed. We accept that if the Steinhoff global settlement somehow survives, we think there's very low probability of that we would appeal that. So ultimately, it will stop in 2 places that start with a B, Bloemfontein and Braamfontein, I guess. So we'll see if the Constitutional Court refused to hear Steinhoff on this matter. The SCA will now hear it. And as I say, I think it's a good thing for society that we can address these ambiguities, and also go into the history of Steinhoff.
What happens next?
So we will wait for the SCA to confirm that they will indeed hear the appeal, and then once that appeal is heard, it's either the end of the matter, or the matter progresses, and we deal with the issue of Steinhoff's solvency or insolvency. And then, further to that, there's obviously still 2 cases that's going on. There's a challenge to the South African Reserve Bank in terms of the approval that was granted to Steinhoff in 2015 to leave South African shores, and which is it's an interesting process. It's very intriguing. And then there's the South African leg of the settlement, which faces a large number of headwinds with quite a lot of challenges. That's being heard in January of next year.
How long is all of this taking?
Alec, well, if you think about it, I guess it started in 2009 when the fraud allegedly started. 2017, it came to a head with the resignation of Marcus Huyssteen. And after that, the revelation of the fraud, all 106 billion rand of it. And now there's been this ongoing process to either obstruct justice or to effect a settlement that would keep everybody happy. But it seems the latter is a very difficult thing to achieve.
My question really was, how much longer before Steinhoff shareholders know that their company is bankrupt or has been liquidated or not? In other words, how long will this process go before this settlement agreement, if that's allowed to go forward, or indeed if you win your attempts to have Steinhoff liquidated?
If history repeats itself with appeals upon appeals and attempts to cast things in different lights, it's not going to be anytime soon. I think we accept at the very earliest that this would come to some form of resolution in 2025. So what's that? That's 4 years from now.
2025. So you're buying Steinhoff shares today. You're taking a punt that Mostert and Van Huyssteen are not going to be successful in liquidating the company. And you're taking a punt that there will be a settlement offer that at some point in time will be distributed. But are you telling us now that that money, that settlement offer can't be concluded until 2025, or can that go on independent of your court action?
No, Alec, I don't think it can carry on until all court matters have been settled. Certainly, we will fight it to the very end. And, there's so many things at play that for us and for others, it's not going to be an issue of just being shooed to the side, no pun intended.
But people who are buying Steinhoff shares today must be doing it with some rational thought involved.
Well, if you think about it, and our mutual friend Piet Viljoen would have been a good addition to this conversation, although I don't think he would have gone there because he is an investor, and he, like you and I, we can't give people advice on which shares to buy or so. Personally, I would submit that Steinhoff's bonds are trading below par. That alone is an indication that there's no equity value in the company, and that even the bondholders accept that they won't receive 100 cents in the rands ultimately. So I don't think that anybody that's buying Steinhoff shares at the moment buy it on any grounds of value to be had down the line.
But I guess if you are sitting in that camp, at least the Judge Haley Slingers, did give the other side the leave to appeal the liquidation. Had she not done so, then it would have been presumably all over.
No, not quite, because we would still have had to argue the merits of the insolvency. And there's a host of intervening parties against and for liquidation, and there's a lot of legal matter that has to be traversed. So I do think this delays the process. It doesn't dispose of the liquidation application, and we'll forge forward with it, as we will with our other court cases. But this effectively is another delay in hearing that and seeing the true state of this company.
Sounds to me like the only people who are making money out of all of this are the lawyers.
Well, from your lips. But I think the people who stand to benefit the most is not the lawyers. It's the debt holders that bought the debt for cheap after the fraud was revealed. They stand to make multiples on their money. And that's and Judge Slingers referred to that in her ruling today, in which she said she refers to them as alleged creditors because they've not proven that they actually have a claim. Now, that's interesting because if this liquidation continues, as it likely will, then those financial creditors might end up with no claim at all. And then you have a situation where there's a lot more money to go around for those who have been defrauded and who's not looking to restore their businesses like us. But you talk about people on the street, the PRC, etc. If you challenge the validity of 11 billion euros worth of debt, and you think about a 280 billion rand collapse, the man on the street arguably can do a lot better if we ventilated these issues fully and transparently.